you blush now.
He is blushing.
He is.
Your cheeks are all rosy red.
Oh.
Alright, so video is live.
You don't feel anything? That sounds like a personal. No.
It kind of.
Feels like a real personal problem.
Where's your mic off, Steve?
Nope, nope, don't turn them on. Chill. Alright, Steven, go ahead and turn on your mic. Talk.
Hello.
Is that going to be where you're going to be?
Yes.
Talk.
Hello, hello, hello.
Keep talking.
1, 2, check. Check 1, 2.
Okay, that's perfect. Turn off your mic, please. John, turn on your mic.
Other way.
Over there.
Right
Over
here.
there.
Wait, oh.
Alright, John, talk.
1, 2, 3, hello.
Perfect. Go ahead and turn off your mic.
Cool.
Neil.
Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect. Go ahead and turn it off. Steve.
Nutrition facts, serving, size 1 can.
That's
Oh,
boring
no.
enough. Steve, try not to move so much. Pull up the chair, man.
I guess scions are technically in the meta too.
Oh.
Everyone go ahead and turn on your
But we'll
mics.
talk about it in the starter deck.
And
We may
then
as well
we'll move
transition
into
to
it, yeah.
with
Turn on your mics. Is your mic on now?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Hi. Steven, say something.
Hello.
John?
Hello.
Neil?
Hi.
Steve?
Hi.
We're good to go. We're firing on 3 cylinders.
Is that a
It's a
lot?
good thing I need 5 to work.
Okay, are you guys, did you guys brief and everything? Are you good?
Sure, right?
Okay,
everyone?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Alright. Blah, blah, blah. Live in Midgar. Steve.
Hey, this is Steve from whatever. God damn it. Hi, Steve. Next.
Hey, hold on, stop. Good first try, guys.
All right, we're done. Let's pack it up and go.
That was fucking perfect.
Good episode.
One take.
All right.
You don't have to say welcome to Midgar or anything
Yeah.
like that. I'll take
Okay.
care of that.
All right.
But hi, this is Steve. Let's introduce
Yeah,
ourselves.
let's
Blah,
go
blah, blah.
around.
All right, welcome to Midgar or live from Midgar. Blah blah blah. Steve.
Hey, this is Steve.
And Neil?
I'm John.
And Steven.
That's not going to be confusing.
All right, so I'm Steve Yin, and then that's
Steven Bambig.
There we go.
The double Steve tonight.
Yeah.
I thought there was an R in your last name. No.
No.
Oops.
No, wait. What did you think his last name was?
Bambrick.
Bam Brick.
Bambrick.
Okay. Alright.
Cue the
I mean,
brickhouse.
it's Bambi with
I
a
like
C
it
at
now.
the end. That's cool.
I kind of like it now. It's Bambrick.
Bam Brick. Okay,
Rhymes
alright.
with Bambrick.
This is such good radio.
Everyone's tuning in, and just, oh my god, talking about names. All right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about cards.
Okay.
Just kidding.
All right. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about the starter decks today.
Yeah.
To start us off, and we want to talk about our opinions on what starter decks that we personally like, what we think are really good, and stuff like that. I personally like FF10 from the Opus 1 series.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That was my first purchase.
Yep, same with me. I mean, excluding booster packs, but
Right.
the reason why I like it so much was the game was really good. You know, the video game was really good, but the Yuna, Riku, Pain package, that's really good. It's actually kind of starting to come back a little bit in the meta and stuff like that. So
Starter Pain is really good.
yeah, Starter Pain is really good. So that's why I really like it.
For me, I came from Magic before I came to Final Fantasy, so 10 had the aspect of comboing a lot of cards like you do in Magic, and so I felt more at home with the 10 deck than any other deck because I got 10 and 13 from Opus 1, the Opus 113. Opus 113, not used to it because it's a whole totally different game and it played way differently, but the 10, just comboing the cards together, especially with the Yuna Riku Pain combo, felt more at home for me, so.
Well, my first starter deck was the 9 starter deck, and at the time it was like really good. Like the 9 package was just very consistent, and just searched a lot of cards, which is kind of like it's my play style.
Yeah,
and 9's like my favorite game. So yeah, that's why. Is it still good? I'm not sure.
I think so.
I think the package, the 9 package was really good during like the Opus 3 days.
Opus 3,
and then I think it's fallen off now. I see a lot of people not playing the 5-drop Steiner as much.
Yeah.
Right. They're all going for the Opus 4 Steiner Legendary.
Like you see the Zidane 4-drop that recently came out, well not recently, but from Opus 6 it came out,
Yeah.
and it's really, really good, and yet I don't see a lot of the Steiner 5-drops to accompany it pretty much in the decks.
Unless you're
So-
playing Knights, unless
Yeah.
you're playing Knights mostly.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
part of the issue is specifically the fact that we have Layla Viking now, and the value from there is just such a fast driver. So that unless you're specifically trying to play 9 cards, or you're specifically searching for the Zidane, or you're running that package intentionally, I don't think it gives you as much as just running Layla Viking.
Yeah, I mean, but like Arnett's so good still.
Yeah.
Arnett,
I mean-
I feel personally, I feel the 3-drop
Legendary?
Arnett from
Oh.
the legendary one, not from
Yeah.
the start.
Not from the
That's
start
what
deck.
Well,
Okay.
it's good in like Weenie Rush decks.
No one runs those.
No one does.
I know.
No one does.
I mean, I know.
The only other good card. I
But we're
think
also
was
talking
the
about starter. But
Oh,
we're
yeah,
talking about
we're
starter
talking
decks,
starter
getting
decks,
people
yeah.
in. I mean, like it's good cards.
starter
And
decks,
And 9, you're talking about getting the Light Zidane, which
Yeah.
is still a good card.
especially in discard decks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
still a good card.
Just Dark's way too good right now, so people don't
Yeah,
really
Dark's-
play
Dark's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light or just. At one time, Zidane was like in every deck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zidane
because it was
everywhere.
light, so you can play it, you can draw
Yeah.
from it, and if you're
You can
playing a
discard,
9 package,
yeah.
right, it comes out cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's you get to play for free pretty much. You
Mhm.
pay 2 to drop it, and then you get to draw your card, right?
I think he
So-
also kind of died off because Opus 6 Zidane is also Zidane,
That's true.
which doesn't help.
Zidane is also Zidane.
It breaks my heart that none of the Zidanes have S abilities.
Oh.
They don't have special abilities.
Mhm.
Like, because there's so many Zidanes out there, right?
True.
There's the 2-drop from Opus 1, and then there's the 3-drop
3-drop.
from Opus 3, and then there's the
The
Opus...
3-drop light. And
The
then
light
Opus
one
6.
was-
There was
Stars and
no.
Opus
Well,
6
Zidane wasn't
four-drop.
Opus 1. They all came from Opus 3.
No, there's an Opus 1 2-drop Zidane.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
can't be
the
targeted by
legendary.
summons.
The legendary.
It can't be targeted by
That's
summons.
right.
Can't be blocked
That's
by
right.
Can't be blocked by
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
or
But 9 didn't really
Four
become
or four.
prevalent until Opus 3.
Yeah.
The rest of the 9 cards didn't really come out until Opus 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think when Opus 1 first came out, that 2-drop Zidane was actually...
It was.
It was...
It was the one where you reveal your
wrecking
hand,
shit.
right?
Yeah.
It really was.
Oh no, that's the
wrecking
one in Opus 3.
Oh.
The reveal hand.
Oh, the legendary. I got
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
That's Zidane. Yeah, I hated that
shit.
Zidane.
It was hard to get rid of back just when it was just Opus 1. It was
Yeah.
really hard to, deal with it and stuff like that.
You
Yeah, I
saw
kinda-
him in the 10 package in Opus 1 where they were running the Titus combo with it was Titus Waka, part of the Yuka, and then Zidane there just to be a chump blocker or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was, yeah.
I mean, from a starter deck perspective, I think all of them have something to offer, which I think is really, really good. Some of those starter
Yeah,
cards.
the starter
I
cards.
mean, like, the first 12, is it? No, 13. The 13 with Jill Nabat.
Oh yeah.
So, like,
Staple
it's got a
on
couple
both
of stable
sides.
cards and stuff, but, like, Jill has just, like, she has just not gone away. She is in almost every ice deck. And
I actually
she's
haven't
just
seen her
good.
lately in a lot of the newer ice decks. I'm not sure.
That's because Turbo D is just.
That's true too.
She's in any ice deck that isn't Turbo D.
Yeah, control the ice decks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mid range for sure.
13 I feel is probably the second best starter deck if you're new to the game or if you come from another background trading card game. 13 would be really good.
13 is just good because I think at one point, one Jill in the bot, like non-foils, just so one card of the one from the starter deck costs like five something.
Yeah.
Right? So if you bought that starter deck and you were
You get
like,
a
I
playset.
don't need Jill in the bots and I'll just
Yeah.
sell the Jill in the
Just
bots,
need
you
your
get your
money.
money back and you get free cards.
And then the
So-
foil is like $10 and you only get those out of the booster pack, so
Yeah.
you're good.
Yeah. But I think just from a general value perspective at this point, I mean, I think all of them have something to offer, but I think Scions are like, I think the new 14 deck, the starter 14 deck, is probably a really, really good deck for pretty much anyone starting to get into the game. I mean, it can be swingy. You need that you need your 4-drop haster, or the deck loses a little bit of teeth. But it starts out pretty strong on its own, and then with very little investment,
Yeah.
you can turn it into a competitive meta level
You
deck.
basically need one card from Opus 5, which is the Thancred really.
Mhm.
And then Opus 6, you're looking at the Y'shtola. So literally you're looking at like 2 cards, and then you've got your...
Cryle.
Yeah.
Well, Cryle is a maybe in
Really?
some decks. Really the 2 biggest cards are going to be Thancred and Y'shtola, mostly because to get your forwards going.
Yeah.
The Cryle, you can always substitute for another card. Yeah, she's a Scion and she beefs the Ida, but get your 14 package going, I feel the Thancred and the Y'shtola are the better values.
My
to
balance
get.
deck begs to differ.
There's also a couple levels to it too. Like it's a good you buy it fresh out of the box, and it already plays pretty well.
Yeah.
Plays pretty well on its own. You can put very little money into it. Like we're talking like $5 worth of commons and rares and heroics, and you can make it somewhat competitive. You can make it at least local competitive.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like a really super competitive market, but like you can make it at least playable. For a little bit more, you can make it a little bit more competitive, and then if you want to spend, what, 50, 60, what is it?
No, honestly, it's like $30.
No,
Well, the wall. So if you're playing the
for
wall version,
yeah.
yeah.
If you're playing the wall.
Yeah.
You
So
start
if you want to put in
putting
like
the 3 walls
75, 80, you can make it. I mean, tier 1.1, tier 1.5 ish. I mean,
so I honestly think you for $100, like
For sure.
if you for $100, including the starter
Just
deck,
buy the
and
singles.
then the walls, and
Yeah.
then buy some of the stuff, you can build that 14 deck, and you'll probably win some.
Yeah,
a
I mean-
good amount of
And
games.
we're talking a meta deck too.
yeah,
It's
it placed second at the Crystal Cup in Seattle, and it made a couple of top 16s in
Previous card.
in Spain just recently,
Yeah.
like last couple of days here. It was in like 2 of them, I think, in the top 16.
Yeah, so, the starter decks are really. I think they made it so that you can very easily transition from the starter decks that you buy for $15 and
Yeah.
you just play a little bit, and you get to learn the game, and then you can just buy a couple of cards that will augment that starter deck, and you can transition into a little bit more of a competitive scene.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job of that, because I think Magic or Pokemon is a little bit troublesome in that aspect. from what I
their
know.
decks from what I play, because I came from Pokemon and Magic myself. You buy those decks, and for me, it felt like you're wasting $15. Maybe 1 or 2 good cards in there. Rest were utter garbage.
Yeah.
You had to buy the booster packs, so especially the Pokemon starter decks.
Pokemon is really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I really
What's
like.
that 20-20-20 like ratio?
Yeah.
20 energy, like you never need that many.
Exactly,
It's like
and-
trash.
I mean, while the structure, theme aspect of what they were trying to accomplish with it looked pretty cool, giving you mediocre cards was not cool for the money that you're spending on it.
True. I think they're getting better actually. The newer ones are pretty
For
good.
Pokemon.
For,
Yeah.
for Pokemon, Magic,
Magic, I think,
Oh,
is still.
I know.
Magic, no, not Magic.
And I really think that Square has figured it out. Like, I mean, as someone, obviously, I didn't come into the very beginning. I came in during Opus 3. But if you look at the starter decks, the first couple of starter decks, and you looked how they've advanced to now with, I would say 14 would really be the newest starter deck at this point. There is a clear power curve. And while not all of them are competitive out of the box, they all at least provide something that's good. I think they learned a lot with these last 2. I mean, we got 3 this last time around. 12 is just utter garbage. I'm sorry, 12. But 14 and the new 13 too, the Moogle Sarah Null deck is actually not bad.
It's fun to play.
Yeah, and if you
I think it's very difficult to make it super competitive, but it's actually really fun
You've had some problems with mine.
to. No.
But at least, one of the other things, if you look at the cards, they at least, like, the cards that they provide you in those decks as well are at least not bad choices. Like, I mean,
Well,
obviously, when Opus 1 was the only Opus out, I mean, you have limited options and you can only do so much. But these decks chose very, very good secondary cards that add to staples, and I mean that also transitions to the new dual deck that we have coming out in this next Opus, Light Dark, which Heroes versus Villains, which is got some reprints of apparently some good cards, got some new legends, and it looks like it's going to be competitive out of the box. I mean, obviously not like go win nationals or anything, but it's gonna be full of cards that are gonna do things.
We're also looking at cards that are worth like $25-$30 single right now. That you'll see those drop a little bit once that new set comes out.
See what happens to Genesis.
Yeah, what I'm hoping that they'll do with that is maybe do alt art.
Yeah.
So you keep some of the value of the rare cards out there, and you get the
mean,
The
Light
hero
Cloud
builds.
still makes to differ, but but I mean, I guess considering he's at least still a $10+ card and the foil is still worth a bunch.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like at rock bottom.
Wall.
It's
Wall
because
did it.
he's like the Charizard of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Cloud is that Charizard.
He
Right?
was the rarest card in
Remember
Opus
when we were
1.
kids? Yeah.
The foil being like the super rarest card you'll ever get, and when you pull it, you're just like, I made $40, man!
Yeah. Well, it was funny. I was at Crystal Cup and I was just playing against a guy who was playing like a version of a 7 deck, and he pulled out plays a Light Cloud, and I looked at it, I was like, is that wave 1? And I'm like, yep, the colon's low. And I was like, oh, you realize what you're playing here? He's like, yeah, I know exactly what I've got. I'm like, all right, man.
Playing a wave 1.
Wave 1
Is
Cloud,
it
like
foil?
foil, yeah.
Jeez.
Whoever you are, fuck you. God damn it.
If I feel if you want to get into Final Fantasy and you're looking in that competitive where you want to spend the least amount of money, the two best starter decks, in my personal opinion, are going to be the Final Fantasy X one, because literally right out of the box you've got a lot of really good cards, and you don't need much to build.
And if you want to, with Opus 6, you can put the new Riku in Pain
Exactly.
if you want to, or run the new unit.
Mhm.
Like you get
And
the,
then
kind of the engine there.
My other one is like, if you really like hasty control, then the 13 from Opus 1 is also probably the second best starter deck to really get you into competitive. Especially if you really like the way Ice and Lightning plays, you're going to get a lot of the staples from those two decks right
Okay.
there.
Alright. What about you, Neil? I know that you actually think the 14 is probably the best to get into, right?
I think 14 is probably the best to get into, and I mean just because it's done so well, and I don't think it takes much investment, and I think that the play style is pretty easy. The idea is, I mean, obviously it's much more complex. This game is always more complex, than I think some people give it credit for sometimes. But I
Just
just
watch John play. This guy, he picks up every fucking avenue.
The funnest part is when you bluff him into thinking you have a card in your hand when you really don't, and you make him play the card, and then he's just like, "Can I take that turn back, please?"
But I mean, it's
Call out, boys.
shots fired. But no, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the idea, it's a hasty deck. The idea is you get your haster down. You get your 4-drop backup down. Try and do it for value if you can. You play your guys and you punch people in the face with haste. If you're lucky enough, you use your Stroller to blow things up. You use E to blow things up.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you can't blow up, you use your utility to take care of it. And you just keep doing that. And as long as you can get that card down and you're okay with that, it works really, really well. It's not everybody's flavor.
No.
But
And I do agree with you with that. Honestly, I think I would add that to top 3 then. Because with the 3 decks, the 2 that I mentioned, the one that Neil mentioned, I think it gives everybody's play style. Where the 13 gives you the control the control burst, I should say. Lightning blows up a lot of stuff on the field.
Yeah, it has
Yeah, it does.
it has
The-
that 4-drop Odins.
The wind water Final Fantasy X gives you semi control with hasty, and then you've got complete aggro with the 14 deck.
Yeah. So, I guess this is a good transition point to the current meta.
Current meta. Yeah.
So
aside from Scions,
kept on talking about the Scion stuff.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to discuss like the meta
yeah.
and how that's going right now, and it's pretty much just 2 words. It's Layla Viking.
Layla Viking, yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, Layla fucking Viking.
Or turbo discard, turbo ice discard.
Well, I mean,
3 words.
Yeah, I think there's 4 decks that seem to be making a lot of ground when it comes to the meta. I mean, if you look at the current the Spain and Germany games that just went, their big nationals, they had 9 and 6. I think they had 15 of the top 32 decks between the 2 of them were Layla Viking.
They
Running
had
Layla Viking
Layla, they had
package.
Layla Viking
Yeah.
somewhere in
Such a
And
good
then-
card when it came out.
yeah.
Opus 6, right?
Yeah.
No,
And then
was it 6 or was it 5?
Yeah, the Layla
The
came
Layla
out.
yeah,
came out.
Layla
Oh,
came
that's
out
right,
6.
that's right.
Viking was
Viking
Opus
came
4.
out 4, yeah.
Opus 4. Yeah, and then so you've got Layla Viking all over the place. You've got Earth Wind that is making a few just because of the value you get off Datalum and Cactuar. It's gross.
And not the Shantoto, the
Star Civil.
Star Sybil.
Yeah.
Star Sybil especially.
Yeah, Star Civil, and then
Semi-Love.
we play like Commandant a lot. I think
Yeah.
Commandant goes into that deck a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Commandant surges for your chaos to enable
Yeah.
your ability to
Chaos or Shadow Lord.
Or Shadow
Or the
Or
fact
Emperor.
that you can just play an Earth Forward with Star Sybil right off the bat is
yeah, whatever you want.
crazy. So.
And then we're seeing Turbo Discard Auger,
Yeah.
obviously. It's doing pretty well.
Ever since that 6 came out, I was not expecting that. First time I played against that, I was just like, what is this shit?
We hadn't
Turn
seen
2 kill.
We
What?
hadn't seen it really top. We hadn't really seen it top or
No.
perform very well, but like
Right.
it Turbo Discard.
Oh.
Like I mean, so everyone
I think when it originally
when it first came out, Opus 5's version
It was-
kind of did a lot.
Yeah.
But Opus 6 it kind of died off.
It was
a bit
the
with some
water,
change.
not the Water Crystal Cup. It was the Wind Crystal Cup in California where we first saw Turbo Discard after Opus 6 came out. That placed, I believe, top 5. And people, no, I think it actually won that one.
I don't know if it won or not. I know there was one like local qualifier or Crystal Cup. I forgot what it was,
What's
but
Crystal Cup?
it got first place. That Turbo Discard that was running the
People
Squall and
were
stuff
just-
like that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
9 backup version.
Yeah,
Everybody was
The
running that
degenerate one.
afterwards.
Yeah, it was running. And we had, but it disappeared for a while. We hadn't seen it. Shadow
Yeah.
Lord kind of came.
Yeah.
People figured out Layla Viking.
Oh, hey,
Uma.
all 2-drop
Hey,
Shadow
look
Lord.
Look at all the things in the meta that I just named that counter. The counter to Layla Viking and the counter to Turbo Discard is also
Shadow Lord.
Shadow Lord and Dataluma.
Hey, guess
Oh,
what? Shadow
yeah,
Lord will
see
be
all
in the
of them.
new Heroes and Villains deck.
Oh, cool. Is he?
He
What-
is.
what- what?
Shadow Lord is part of the Heroes Villain deck as one of the cards you'll get.
I don't see the same one.
Mhm.
That's
Wink,
cool.
wink, hint, hint.
Yeah.
So
So
all I'm excited about is that I'm hoping that there's going to be a FF2 searcher, right? So you can
it's
start.
never going to happen.
Keep dreaming.
Fuck you.
Start getting those
You
rebels
will never
out.
be able to search for your Furion. He will stay at the bottom of your deck forever.
Speaking of that, that new Furion will be pretty good once Opus 7 hits out with the that backup, the Lulu backup. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking about there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fire Lulu backup. Oh man, Lulu's changing colors now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I don't.
I mean,
How do you feel about seeing so much Layla Viking?
I hate it.
I hate it.
I have been so loud in preaching. Like everyone talks about how Turbo Discard seems to be the cancer for this game. I think it's Layla Viking.
It's Layla Viking.
I really think it's Layla Viking. I have been screaming it from the mountaintops for months now. I think it's worse than anything, and I think that it's because it's everywhere. I mean, it really is. It takes. I mean, there were some decks that we had in the previous meta that just got better just because of Layla Viking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Vice King specifically. Mid-range Ice was good in the last Opuses. It's better with Layla Viking.
Yeah. Ice Water has made a comeback now with the Layla Vikings. The fact that you're able to play Layla, play a Viking from your graveyard, get your draws so that you can start filtering your cards faster, you're not worried about milling out because you're going to get the cards that you need to counter every play that your opponent has. And your opponent's just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the 4-drop Renoa that if you don't
Oh,
have
man.
too many
Oh,
options,
my
you can
God.
play
Yeah.
that Renoa,
Yeah.
choose your Viking,
And then
the
draw
moment it leaves,
4
you draw
cards.
You draw a card.
No,
And then
2
draw
cards.
two.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm tired.
4 cards. Dang, man.
4 CP.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can hit the Layla if you had to,
Yeah.
and not to mention, I mean, it's got so many options.
It does.
That Renoa also does gross things, which is one of the reasons why that.
She
yeah.
really does. I played Crystal Cup and I got countered. Dude played Genesis Angeal, renewed it, Genesis Angeal, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wiped my whole board out. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, John and I are playing Layla Viking in our
Yeah,
decks.
and we
and
love
then
it.
and we love it. And then we have the 2 players who are like to say this is garbage,
Yeah.
it should be gone, and these are the 2 players
I
who
don't think it's garbage. I think it's
I think
it's
it's garbage,
really
but
really
it should
good.
be gone.
Yeah, I think-
It's
You know,
yeah.
I think that we. Part of it is I think there's a couple of things that the game needs to kind of help the meta grow a little bit. I mean, I like the meta is still open. I think it's almost in a way almost too open sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at, because at this point there are a number of decks that you can play competitively, but if you look at the decks that are topping, for the most part they're decks that counter decks that counter decks.
Yep.
And so you're playing rock paper scissors, and
Beautiful.
so I don't think that you get a lot of spread sometimes. So you're it's like, which one do I hate the most, and
Yeah.
how do I counter that one?
Exactly. That's the nice thing I feel with Final Fantasy. We're going on to Opus 7 here coming in November. I mean, we're 7 sets in, and the meta isn't tagged to one set like it has been for Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, and it keeps changes. Every set comes out with new cards that completely changes how everything plays
And
out.
even those decks, though, there's variance in those decks for a
Uh-huh.
lot of the times. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at, Vice Kings for one person is different than someone else's.
Exactly.
And so they're all kind of slightly different. I mean, I
Step
think
Scions.
Step Scions.
Step
I
Scions.
mean,
It's because
kind of forced to be the same.
Layla Viking isn't meant to be a core of the deck. It's not supposed to be,
Yeah.
That's not what you're doing, right? Layla Viking is there as like a subset.
Give me my cards, please.
Yeah,
Let
you
me
get
filter my
bounty
decks.
points, you get
board
bodies.
presence.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
board presence, you get bodies on there. You get to draw from it, and
And that's where part of that issue is. It will not issue, but I mean, it enables so much. So if you're playing more water, you run Cloud of Darkness. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
she just rains down.
Cognazo.
Cagnazo,
Oh,
Cloud of
man.
Darkness. If
Yeah.
you're running ice, you pull out the Renoa and the Nidhogg, or the Renoa and backups.
Yeah.
Backup killing Sephiroth if you want to.
Right.
It's a little bit weird, but things. So I just think that part of what I mean, I don't know. One of the other things I'd like to see more of in the meta is I'd like to see more monocolor. I'd like to see more mono decks.
Like fire.
Like
Neil's been preaching for fire.
I would just
back.
like
something.
Fire needs something. So
It really does.
I mean, I guess the question is I mean, there's a couple decks in the meta. Turbo Discard. I don't want to say that it's a good representation of a monocolor, just because of it doesn't matter what's in. It doesn't matter what you're running in your deck if I've discarded your entire hand. So I mean, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter what. There's no real. Either it works really well for me or it doesn't. But I mean, Mono Lightning has been around for a while, and we're starting to see some reemergence of Mono Water, and I think that's basically because of Layla Viking with Cloud of Darkness.
Yeah.
I think those three are really, really good.
I mean, the value, just playing Layla Viking and the Lena and the the Knights. I mean,
Yeah.
John is running this format
Yeah.
here, and it's just the crazy ass value.
Yeah,
you get
because
from it.
your board just goes wide real quick, and you're like, I'm going
And
to
then-
drop a 10K, or I'll wipe your board, or I'll take out your biggest dude with my Cloud.
Mono win with the new Zidane, because Zidane can activate any win character if your opponent discards a forward. Granted, you're probably going to reactivate the Zidane, but you can also make
But I mean,
better plays.
we haven't seen very many of them.
Zidane wasn't good enough to bring mono wind back. It was good enough to have wind in a lot
He
of
needs
decks.
like
Wind's a great
one
support.
True,
yeah, wind's
yeah,
a great
true.
support
He
color
needs
right now.
one or two cards of some sort. I don't know what it is would be. I mean, what do you think would allow mono to make its way back in? I mean, do we
For mono wind or
for
just-
mono anything for the monos that aren't there? I mean, we don't. I mean, fire's in a bad shape.
Fire
anyways.
needs a way to deal with the
Mono wind,
mid-moves,
mono
or-
earth. I mean, what do we? So like, do we hope that in the coming opuses that we get more diverse tech options in every color? I mean, is that what we're hoping for? Because it feels like sometimes we're so differentiated that it's like, well, I want backup removal, so I choose X, or I want this color, so I want this thing. Right now I want draw, I want to get my cards, I choose Layla Viking. I want the random buffer and the Zidane and the activation side, so I choose Wind. Do we want to start? I mean, do we want monocolors to have an answer to everything if you tech it in?
A little bit. I want to see Earth not get so many buffs every opus. The past three Earth has just been getting some really strong cards
Earth
lately.
is a great support.
But
It's a really good card.
Yeah.
Like the EX 5-drop Titan that just came out in
Yeah.
Opus 6. Like the fact that your opponent's forward doesn't attack and your forward is swinging with a 2,000 plus power. Like, what is that?
But see, that's what I'm saying is we're hearing, we've said it more than once now for a couple of different colors. These are great support colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we do to make these colors great on their own? I mean, what does it
Remove
take?
the other colors.
Okay, this is Final Fantasy. We only play Earth cards here.
You heard it, Kageyama. We can only have fire ever. Do it.
Literally mono fire.
Mono fire. Yeah,
Mono fire.
Everyone
Nothing
plays
else.
mono fire. It's the new meta because it's the
Opus
only
7
meta.
just
If,
fire.
if they were to do mono, I would feel they would have to make cards that work for like every card. Every color has a breakup backup. Every color has a every color does have anthem. What was I thinking? Break backups is probably the biggest one. Because so far the only one would be Earth and Wind, right? Are the only two currently that can break backups?
Dark.
I mean, there's
Well, not,
Yeah, I
not,
mean, you don't count Dark Light because they can drop anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, Earth, Wind.
I think Earth and Wind are the only two.
Yeah.
Archer from Wind
Yeah, and
breaks the 3 or less, and then
Hecaton share.
Earth has the Hecaton share.
And then Garland.
Oh, the Garland,
the
yeah.
7 dark armor,
7 dark armor.
Maria,
Oh,
and
heretical.
Yuna.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he's
Heretical.
like 5 higher, right?
4 or higher. It's
4 or
Maria
higher.
and Yuna. Your target is Maria and Yuna.
Yeah.
Star Symbol or Devout.
Yeah, there's a couple.
It's got a couple.
But
I think those are the only 2 colors that have the back breakups. Like,
Sorry, I
if
was
we
thinking only about my deck. I don't
Oh.
if we could get maybe something along the lines, or give I'm ranting on Fire here because Fire has been brought down so hard lately that it's just been forgotten right now. Fire really needs cards, and I'm hoping Opus 7 or Opus 8 bring in those cards that not necessarily mono fire, but make it enough where fire can actually start splashing in a lot more colors. Because people love fire, but the fact is you have Minwoo or you have cards that stop burn damage. Like, you can't really do anything because that's all fire is burn damage.
Yeah, the biggest problem was, I think, Neil and I actually talked about this a lot with Miles and Andrew and stuff, and it was the talk of there needs to be like a backup where every time you play your summons, you increase the damage by 1,000 or something, and they got something like that out.
Katuna, yeah.
It's a fucking 6-drop though.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a search.
So I mean, it searches for one, which is usually you're gonna search for the Muhammad, which is a 4-drop. You're gonna launch that thing for free, and it's
So
a
you get
9,000
9K.
removal.
Yeah.
It's,
RFG too. So
yeah, removal.
So
Yeah, 9,000 removal.
Doesn't the new Cryo do that too from Opus 7? Then they just revealed that. I think the new Cryo does that.
Does she?
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, but she increases.
We're talking about fire here. goddamn.
But she increases summon damage though.
No. No, she does.
Is
No,
that
I
what
just
it
read
was?
it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what happens. No, you
We're
can
gonna-
play,
every
you can play
time-
summons
if
using
you-
any color.
You can
Yeah.
play, and then
You can
Oh,
discard
it's
a
a
summon.
big color. I
Yeah,
gotcha,
buff a
okay.
four,
Buff a
and you
four
can
by
discard a summon
1,000.
to make her untargetable by summons.
Yeah.
She's like Garnet,
Except
basically.
it's choose one. You
Yeah.
get to choose one.
Choose one.
Garnet
It's like a
gets
nerf
you.
version of Garnet.
Yeah, a
So,
little bit.
I mean, all three abilities are very similar to her abilities.
So the moment I saw that, I wasn't thinking anything. I was like, ooh, water, earth, Garnet, and that thing. Every time you
And then you run
Oh my
Earth, and then you run
yeah.
what is that backup? What is
Oh,
his name?
which
and
one?
the graviton.
Graviton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then you tie it on top.
and
We're
she's a
talking too
warrior
many
of-
ifs now.
And she's a warrior of light on top of it. Yeah, it's just
Wow.
it's not funny.
Oh.
But
We might see like the first 20k the board.
no, we've seen a 20K for
Yeah,
that,
Ida.
that Prish.
And Ida.
Oh.
The block
Oh,
Prish.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I forgot about the
Yeah.
block.
You,
first,
you can
yeah.
buff Ida up
Everyone's
to 20k.
Yeah, and you can get beat up there too.
Sounds-
But you know, I don't know.
sounds-
But I mean, what is that? If we start talking about trying to get a counter in every color, I mean, does that then that point we stop playing and then we just move to mono meta? I mean, is there still any? Is there what I'm saying? How do we get mono to be a thing, but yet not impact multicolor decks?
I think currently, as it is right now, I think we just need to see more cards and more abilities to come out and stuff. It's fairly new game still,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's trying to find its place and stuff like that. And I think it's good as it is now. There's not crazy like Magic is just and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Ohs. They're so old and. They've figured out all their, stuff and how they want to do it.
And
and it
they
works
got
for them.
that. They know what they're doing well enough that they haven't lost really anybody, because they keep bringing something fresh, new with every set. So
And Final Fantasy is currently doing that right now.
Yep.
I just
It
need
is.
more cards.
It does.
I think.
Yeah.
It just needs, and so it's just going to take a little bit of time. I think
Yeah.
is going to be the issue.
I'm really hoping Opus 7 has the hard discard counter. I want to see every mechanic that exists in the game have a hard counter somewhere. I mean, it doesn't have to be everywhere.
No.
It doesn't have to be on a light or a dark card. It can just be in something. But I think Fire deserves it.
Honestly, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Fire
I mean,
combating ice.
exactly.
Right?
And I think that and the other discard color is wind. So Fire Wind is also one of those
Yeah.
weird combos that you think about in the end. So I
Wind.
think that I think if you give Fire that, it'd be pretty good. I mean, we've got Dark Lord too, so maybe they get a remove from game card, which would be fun because based on how many you've got RFG'd. So
Wind is almost on the verge of making a true mill deck.
yeah.
Almost on the verge. We've got Paul from Opus 6, where if he can't be blocked by 3 or more, and he mills 5. I mean, that in and of itself is nasty. And then you've got a few, like you've got the Sid from Final Fantasy 7.
Sit cards up. I wish
And
those were so
Riku.
much
Yeah,
better.
they need to be a little bit, but
Riku is also there.
Riku's there. You've got the small mill, but I want that
The
true mill
Migo.
feeling
You've got
from
Migo.
like,
Mill 50.
What is her name?
yeah, your ally
Sean,
mill deck from
you are
Magic the
never going to get
Gathering.
hired as Screen. Mill 50 win game on it. It's like fucking Exodia. Or what is that card from? Exodia. Yeah, it's fucking Exodia.
I mean, if we're also talking Magic the Gathering, you could play an ally mill deck. I mean, by turn 5, you've replicated your Hedron ally, and then your opponent mills 120 cards. I mean, goodbye.
What?
Wow, what
What?
language was that?
Replicates a card 6 times. Hedron ally, basically, you mill 1 card for every ally you have on the field.
Uh-huh.
And so he counts himself, and so you have a field of at least 3, and so that's 4, and then it doubles to 8, and then it doubles to 12, and then doubles to 32. It just keeps doubling. It's just
Kageyama,
disgusting.
if you're listening, don't do that shit. Because that shit is toxic.
Give me that, give me that true build deck, please.
You know, truthfully, I don't really necessarily care as long as you put in a hard counter for mill 2. Then go ahead and try and mill me.
Hard counter mill.
Well, I mean, so if this card is discarded, for, if this card is discarded off the top of your deck or something, or if this card enters your break zone, play, for any reason, play something. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a
Give
number
me
of
a
different ways you can do
counter
it.
to deal a point of damage whenever I have to discard a card from ice.
That's too strong. That's too strong.
You too. Red Dog get hired as Square Enix to make cards.
What is it? Zodiac or oh my god, the Ice Seraph or what is there? Oh my god.
What?
Zalera?
Zalera, thank
There
you.
you go, Zalera.
Zalera hits a 13 listed on the card, so your take 1 point of damage can be a 13 CP card. There you go. It'll be a forward, so it's really easy to kill and have 1,000 power.
13.
It's 13.
13. If you want to launch that 13 card, so 8 plus, it's 8 plus 5 drops. So you need to have
Jeez.
5 cards in your hand.
Backup.
Right? And then you need to have 5 backups.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. It's okay. You're running Layla Viking. You'll be able to.
Or they could, make a card where increase your hand size by 1. Oh my god.
I mean, I think we're due soon for a backup that counts as 2.
One
Or
other
a double backup. I think we're due to see 6 backups in the line in theory.
Yeah.
Or what counts for 6 backups?
Yeah, we'll definitely
I think.
get more than 5 backups because Estinian says 5 or more.
Yeah, I mean
right?
they're
So,
future. I mean they're
and
future
they're
moving.
future
I mean, so that doesn't
proofing,
necessarily mean they're going to, but there
They
was one.
should.
There was a card in chapters for the primal summons because the primal summons gave you secondary powers, I believe, when you had 6 backups, or if you had the 6 backups. So
Yeah.
there was a backup that was specifically designed to empower the primals for each of the
Yeah.
colors.
So you count it as the second one, and it counts so that you have 6 backups,
Yeah.
and then it launches them. Yeah.
Another nice thing, going back a little bit to entry, Final Fantasy doesn't have set rotations, which is nice, like
At the
some of the
moment.
other ones. At the moment, anyways. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Kageyama has said that he doesn't really want to do the same things that
Exactly.
Magic did. It was one of the things
Yeah.
he didn't like. But I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on a potential
I don't-
set rotation or?
I don't
even
think
a
there
ban
needs
list?
to be one. Honestly, every card from every set has been powerful enough to counter any other card or combination. Like the decks, like you've said, and all the metas, they counter each other in one way or another. You just gotta know how to play against them. And I feel there really shouldn't be a rotation because the cards have been pretty equal, except fire. That they play well against each other and they can counter what you need them to counter when you make your decks. So
I agree with Steven, but it just logistically, I'm wondering if it's going to be possible because you have to continuously print Opus 1, 2, 3.
True.
Once we hit like Opus 20, let's say, for instance,
Yeah.
let's say, at that point, I mean, is Square Enix going to continuously, make Opus 1, print Opus 1 runs continuously to support, some of the cards that may be stable since Opus 1
well, here's
now?
you got to remember though, since Opus 5 started, they've actually been reprinting the
The one drops.
backup. So who's
Yeah,
to
the
say that
backup
they
one
may not include 1, 2, and 3 in the future opuses as just
I
for
mean,
how they do the reprints?
Do we want to see that to prevent a set rotation though? I mean,
I don't want to see that. To
I
be
don't want to
honest.
see that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the question. Do you like seeing the reprints?
The reprints from those starter decks are fine, I think, because those are it helps new players not pay fucking an arm and a leg to get these Genesis cards, the VVs, these cards that are really rare and expensive. So I think this is good because they look at the current market and go, okay, Genesis is way too high, Amon, VV, and stuff like that, and they do reprints through these kind of sets,
starters.
the starter sets. I think this is really good. I think,
But you don't
Pokemon
wanna see
does
them-
that too, right?
With
Pokemon does that with
The
really
reprints.
good cards that have become staples that are
Oh,
really
yeah.
expensive. They reprint them with the alternate art, and they come in like little starter sets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
packages.
the
well, it's
giant
either
cards.
a reprint or alternate art.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah.
alternate art, then it's only legal based on the actual when it first came out that card. But if it's a true reprint, then it's legal for that for that rotation.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah.
So, I mean,
there's no rotations in Final
So,
Fantasy.
but what
yeah,
you're, yeah,
it's fine.
there's not enough
Yeah.
sets.
but what you're saying though is that you're okay with them in starter decks or stuff for new people coming in,
Yeah.
but not in an Opus.
I don't want to see another Genesis like every like 8 because let's say Genesis is like the epitome of what Final Fantasy cards is going to be. Let's say just
Right.
just for argument's sake, Genesis. There's no other ice card that's going to be better than Genesis. That is it, right? I don't want to see a Genesis printed in every like 5 opuses, like Opus 5. It got printed in Opus 3,
Right.
and because it's so good and they're not going to do the starter stuff or something like that, it gets printed again in Opus 10, let's say.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see that because I want to be.
I already have my Genesis.
I mean, do you think-
why do I need it again?
So I mean, I guess the current discussion that has been, why did we get the one drop Evoker Summoners this Opus? Do you think it was because we got Sid, the Sid 2 card?
No,
Do you
I hope
think
it's draft.
Do you think it's for
Yeah.
draft and
I
for sealed?
hope it's for draft.
Okay.
I hope that they're more thinking about this game beyond just regular competitive play. They're thinking about this and they notice that hey, there needs to be some backups that can be played very well in draft.
Because if you don't have
very
Opus
easily.
1 in your draft, you kind of get shafted because that's where your good backups, at least the cheap backups, they come from Opus 1. And a lot of people are just like, I'm tired of Opus 1.
Well then,
Let's
but I
play some
mean,
new
but that's
ones.
the question is, then what do we do with Opus 7 when we get Opus 7? Do we don't reprint them again? So why does this set gets to be the one that happens to get that?
Because I said so.
No, I mean, I'm like, I know that that's a pretty. I mean, obviously,
I think
obviously
you
we're
have
not
a very,
card guys.
very
I'm just
good point.
But we don't know quite yet if Opus 7 won't get any reprints of the one-drop backups yet.
yeah, but why would we, but again, why would we reprint the same one drop backups
Draft.
back to back? I mean, I get draft.
draft,
Well, so
really.
then because this set did cut down on the cards because we got those reprints, so we in theory lost cards
Yeah.
because they reprinted. So are we okay with just a smaller set to get reprints for a better draft in the sealed experience? Are we pushing draft and sealed enough?
I think they're-
from a competitive level.
I think they're
think
trying
it's-
to push sealed a lot, especially with the pre-releases lately. They went from 9 packs to the 6 packs with a special and did that simplified sealed format to get people.
I mean, we did have a sealed event at a Crystal Cup recently,
Yeah.
so I mean that seemed to go over pretty well. I mean, if that's something they're planning on doing more regularly, then sure.
I think it's very important that they do. I think it's part of how they're going to be successful because you can't just focus on one style of
yeah,
play.
you can't just focus on constructed.
You can't do constructed only and expect that this game is just
You
gonna
get
do
burnt
really
out.
well. Yeah,
Burn
you're
out
gonna
hard.
burn out. So you need to have draft, sealed, and
Title.
And
we
title.
can't forget title.
fine.
Let me tell you though, title is actually really fun. Now that Opus 6 is out, there's actually really good combinations to do a really good title deck, like 8 for example. 8 actually kind of went up a little bit for title
Play all
format.
over Novus.
I mean, you could, because there's no character limit, so you have your backup Renoa, you could have your dulled Renoa, and then you could have the...
eight with the ciphers, the ciphers, and the ED. Yeah, it's gross. Go away.
I want to make YRP title.
No,
Good.
it's too slow.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
It is too
It's
slow.
too slow.
Aw.
Yeah, it's too slow.
Sad.
Yeah, you gotta get to
I
get
think, I think the
Yeah.
top title
Five
decks
Unas,
currently is going to be
three
Tactics.
What's Layla Viking? I'm playing that one.
That's a 2. Layla is a 2.
Yeah, and Vikings
Yeah,
is
Vikings
a
are
1.
good.
Vikings a 1, so no Layla Vikings for you.
All right, so I'm playing title only now because it gets rid of that shitty combo.
Or you can just do draft and then. Now that Layla is the most useless fucking card if
That's
you play
true.
draft
Well, I
for Opus 6, right?
Is she
So-
the most?
I
Is
took,
she,
like,
is
Unless
she
it
the
makes
most-
sense on
is she the
Opus
most-
1.
Do you
and
really want to play a 4-drop that is 3,000 power
It does nothing.
and that does nothing? You really want to play
No,
that
if
in
you
any
take
situation?
it if it's foil. I had 2 foils. I'm just like, ooh, my.
Not
I passed
playing
you
to
one of
win.
those.
Not
Yeah,
playing to win.
you regret it.
I regret it so much.
I think Final Fantasy needs more drafting or some way to spice up drafting. I personally like $20 every week. If you did draft every week, can be kind of a sink, but you also think like you're getting new cards with the draft too. And we don't do sealed draft. We actually do real draft where you take a card and you pass it, which I feel changes it better.
I don't think people like sealed.
Not
I mean,
their
the
sealed
majority.
format.
I don't think the
The
majority
format.
likes the format in
The
general.
format is
Because if you
horrible.
get screwed with your packs, I mean, you get screwed with your pack. Nothing you can do about
I mean, that
that.
happens in any game that you're playing sealed. But I guess you're right. With draft, you at least have a little bit.
Draft, you have a
to
little bit more
Control.
control, right?
Mhm.
Like you start going like water, and you're like, ooh, I like water. I got some good cards, and then you can pivot after a while. But
Yeah.
once you have your 6 packs, you're like, fuck, okay.
Oh great!
now
I don't have enough backup
I
ratios
have-
to play the color
Yeah,
I need to.
yeah, you're literally like, what do I have the most color of here? And that is
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
true.
running. That's what Seal becomes.
Yeah. In Opus 5, I mean, I did happen to be in Opus 5's pre-release. My best cards were in Wind, and I pulled 1 Wind back up and 7 Wind cards.
And
So
you're
I was
just like,
like,
"Hey, well, I'm
I was like,
playing
well, I've got
Earth
Diablos. I was like, I've got Diabolos and the Sid, the Sid 5-drop killer. And I was like, oh, these are awesome cards, but I can't play them.
And then you pull the wool, and then you're just like, okay, guess I'm going Earth with the Wardens, Cyclone Wardens.
Actually, in Pokemon, they actually fixed that a little bit, for pre-release at least. In the pre-release, they give you like a certain set of like 22 cards in everything, but it's like, but they change up the element to it, so it kind of randomizes that. Like you could get fighting and psychic in yours, but this other person got grass and fire or something.
See,
So we could do something like that.
I would like that. If we did a sealed format, like Magic does it, they give you land. You can pick. You
Oh,
you
yeah.
get your cards, and if you need the land, you actually the store supplies the land that you need.
Mhm.
And in this case, they provide the
One drop,
one drops.
Yeah, we actually talked about this. I was originally, I think, a couple, like 1 Opus back or something like that. I was talking to Edward, the owner at Geeky. Hi, Edward.
Hi, guys.
So we were talking to him, and because the draft and the seal is a little, it was rough around the edges still and stuff like that. We were talking about, hey, why don't we try what Magic does? So I gave him a bunch of 1-drops. I don't know what he did with them. It's probably gone.
He
now.
burned them all.
He stored them in the
Sold
circular
them.
file. They're in the circular file.
So I gave him a bunch of 1-drops, and I was like, maybe we can do what like Magic does, and we can trade in. So the thing was is you had to trade in your cards, and you get that number of whatever you choice. You want wind 1-drops or water 1-drops or something. You want 5. You would trade in 5 cards, right, and then you would make your deck. And then, if you want to, you can bring the 1-drops back to him, and then you get your cards back at the end of the tournament or something like that. And so we were thinking about this, and then we were like, oh, it's too much work because there's fucking 20 people here, and we don't want to catalog all this information. So
I was going to say, I go along with that. I mean, I've heard a couple of places talking about. I know that Zulu is trying it out. Is my understanding right now? Is they've started a league that like you played sealed and draft, and the cards that you collect are the only cards you can use in their events. If that makes sense. So I mean, it is a bit of an honor system because it's really really hard to track. But I mean, what do you think about that? So it would be. So instead of using the cards you've established, it literally is you're playing sealed or you're playing the same events that for sealed and drafting constructed, but you can only pull from the pool that you've pulled from those other events.
Yeah, I heard about that. So you can only wait. Can you do that one more time?
So
I heard about this.
Yeah.
I was interested in that.
So you're playing. So any other draft or sealed events that you go to, the packs that what you pull. So from sealed events, everything you pull, and draft everything that you pull. At the end of the day, you leave with those cards. You can use those cards in any upcoming other events. So basically, if you want to do a constructed event, you'd have to do a couple of sealed and drafts first, and then you can use those cards only to build your constructed deck. So the idea is that everyone who's showing up is on a roughly equivalent power level, because it's going to be based on pulls only, not who's got the deepest pockets or who's bought the most cards.
Right.
Because you're only going to, so everyone at some point, we're all going to have the exact same amount of cards. Some of us are going to have better cards because we've had better drafts or sealed, but the idea is that they would all kind of even out.
The only issue I have with that would be honor system, really. Who's to say that you didn't really swap out cards over the time? Unless the store stores your cards with your name on it. That way they know, like they put it in a box, this is your box. Any cards that you play, and you can come in the night before, build your deck, and then just hand us the box for the next day. And then that way your cards are there, they know that you haven't done anything to tamper with that.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. And once you take a card outside of the store, you lose the ability to play that card in the league or something like that.
Yeah.
So
We'd have to see what the whole thing is. I mean, cause
I've heard of leagues where they do something like that.
Yeah.
But what they do is they do a draft format in on Saturday, let's say.
Yeah.
and then or Thursday, not on their regular tournament
Okay.
days. They do it on Thursday with a small group of people,
Mhm.
and then they do a draft. And then what they do is they do that, and then they start. What they do is they start pulling like 2 packs together every Wednesday or whatever they get together, and then they augment their deck and they play with that, and they just buy like 1 pack or something like that and augment it or something like that. I've heard of that kind of thing too.
Would be cool, like you do 3 drafts and then a constructed event. So like you do 2 drafts, 2 normal drafts, get your deck going, and then you do 1 sealed draft.
Yeah.
That way, your sealed packs, you could see whether you get cards that you need, and then the 4th event would be your constructed. Like if you've got the cards to do a constructed or somewhat constructed, and see how well you do going forward.
I think they
like
might
that.
even be letting you get your pity pack and or prize support packs in there too. So I mean, so you kind of keep building. I mean, I think that could go a long way in getting some new people in, because then you're
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe we should do a league here.
I mean, so I mean, obviously we've done a couple. We can do some
I mean,
stuff.
we can do with a small group and make a league kind of like a season, like a 1 month
Yeah.
thing, and then we recycle every month or something.
Yeah.
I see.
Um,
I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, I think it helps. I think it can help potentially kickstart some new people, because then
Yeah,
they can get
exactly.
into. Because I mean, like we've had the issue sometimes where we've got constructed people don't. I mean, we have kind of the people who show up for constructed, but we have a couple people that show up for draft and pre-release because they like showing up for that in that format. It puts them on a more even playing
yeah,
field.
Robin is like that.
Robin's like that.
comes
We got
specifically
Swingle for pre-release.
And
Yeah,
Swingle
does that
Yeah,
too.
Swingle does that
yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
we've got. I mean, there's a couple that kind of do that. The only thing that I like the idea. The only problem is we've got to get those people. We have to make sure that they want to show up, because if you miss a week or two,
Yeah.
now you're suddenly really behind because you only have a limited pool. So unless you're doing really really well, you just fall further and further behind. So I mean, it's got to be. You can't do it. There's probably a sweet spot somewhere, like a certain number of weeks, but
I think some of the biggest issues could be cost too. Because if we do draft format, you're looking
week after week after week,
minimum
like $100 plus a month.
$17 to $20, depending on the store and what they charge.
Yeah, but you can reduce the cost by just keeping that draft format and then just open 2 packs and just augment into it.
True.
Yeah.
You
True.
can just augment into
Yeah.
it instead of continuously doing a draft twice or 3 times or something like that. Just
Yeah.
do 1 draft and then
Yeah,
augment
you
as you
do
buy
a
2
draft
packs
of 2,
together.
and then you
yeah.
just do 2 packs in a constructed,
Yeah.
or 2 packs in a. I mean, you could even do weird things like make people make a popper deck out of what they have, because you're gonna have a ton of combos
Yeah,
and
that's
rares.
true.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just kind of. I mean, I think that there's a couple. I think that there's some room in there for an idea,
Yeah, we can come up with something and try something out here and get a couple of people who are really hardcore.
and
into
so
it.
can anyone else.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
anyone can join, of course. And I think it might be something that we can do. So, or anyone else can do, right?
Right.
And with their leagues in their own shops or wherever they're listening from.
Yeah, we can try
to get
things.
new players.
And that's what we want. We want to share ideas. We want to do things. I mean, I know some places. Meta Potion guys are running their leagues with their championships. We here at Geeky Villa have got. We've got our seasons that are running. There's a couple of other places that are doing some other things. So it's cool. I mean,
Nice thing
I'd like
about-
to see
John,
more
I
of
hope
it.
you win.
Yeah.
I hope I win too.
Nice things about Geeky Seasons is that it changes, so it's not all constructed. There's drafts in there. There's even the Winnabox as
Which is
well.
Double
XP.
Double
Yeah.
XP weekend.
And we're
Winnabox.
just shaking his head because he has no goddamn products right now. He's just so many people have been coming in
Draft.
and stuff. So no
Can we
draft.
draft Opus 3 even though it's out everywhere? Because
No.
but I need my VVs. Oh wait, no I don't. That's Miles.
I need my
Miles
Delight
needs
back.
VPs.
I need my Delight. No,
Hey man, hey.
that's fine.
I'm using them for silence.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good discussion tonight.
Yeah, it
Any,
was,
any final thoughts?
Nope.
I think if you're been hesitant on trying a new card game out, I think Final Fantasy is a really good fit. It's really easy to learn. It's the saying, easy to learn, hard to master is Final Fantasy in a nutshell, unlike some of the other card games. Rules are pretty simple, and then we got a lot of players here at Geeky, or mostly Geeky, that are really fluent with the rules, I should say. And if you have any problems or questions, you can always ask them, because they're usually here. Steve's always here Thursday night for casual play, and then Miles and Andrew, the other 2 really good players that we have at our store, that really know the rules pretty well, they're always here Saturdays. So if you're thinking about coming by, I mean, Thursdays and Saturdays are time to, because you got veterans that are happy to teach you to play
Way
and
to pull
stuff.
that back.
Huh?
It's a way to pull that back. Say this thing.
And everyone's really good. Everyone is really good. They know the rules. The community is really good.
Community is
Everywhere.
awesome.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's not relegated to just.
Yeah.
There's some weirdos out there, but no.
There's weirdos everywhere.
No. What I'm talking about is they're saying that there's some people who are trying to like stymie the community and stuff like that, and I think, I don't know. I guess I'm a little tired, but anyways, really great community. Everyone's really great.
Agreed.
Yeah, all the shops up here in Seattle are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's.
I think Washington has probably been one of the bigger scenes for Final Fantasy, at least on the west side.
SoCal.
SoCal.
The Meta Potion Grove has his beat still, but we're catching up.
The destination store,
Destination.
the destination store had 38 for their local qualifier.
Yeah.
Geeky Villa had 37.
Yeah.
So it's comparable. It's not like you.
But I think they've got more stores that are rotating through. I mean,
They're rotating through.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you're from Washington, I mean, we got really good stores that do
Yeah.
Final Fantasy.
Any of them.
Geeky,
and
Critical
Strike.
and other places. There's a
Yeah.
lot of places around.
We've got-
here.
and we've
Busan
got-
first and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and we've got Final Fantasy events running every day of the week right now, but Tuesday at least in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's stuff on
Mox
Wednesdays.
on Wednesdays.
Yeah, Mox and Zulu on Wednesdays. Thursdays is casual at Geeky Villain. Fridays is
Critical
Strike.
Strike.
Saturdays is Who's on First and Geeky
Competitive,
Villain.
competitive Geeky Villain.
Sundays is.
No, we don't do Sundays anymore because Melting Top stopped doing Final Fantasy on
We
Sundays.
don't have Sunday anymore.
We don't have Sunday anymore. So Sundays and
Oh,
Tuesdays
yeah.
are the only 2 days,
And
unfortunately.
then Mondays at Shane's.
Yeah, Mondays at Shane's.
That's someone who's picking up Sundays.
It was Melting Top, but people just did not like their parking area, and it was really hard to get into their store on 164th. So nothing bad about the store; they were great, but they just couldn't get the following. Like I even tried to get some people to go to Melting Top to because they wanted to do Sundays because Critical stopped doing Sundays,
Yeah.
but not enough people showed up. There were other things that happened.
Darn school nights.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here at Live from Midgar, and I hope you guys come back next week to listen to us be stupid, I guess.
Talk about
Talk
cardboard
about
paper.
Yeah, cardboard paper and some words on there.
How John
Shiny.
doesn't know what a bluff is.
But
Who won that game? I'm just saying.
it's the one game. It's
you still fell for the bluff.
That's true.
Thanks for listening.
That was good, guys.
That felt good. Hope it sounded good. How did you enjoy it?
That was pretty good, yeah.
When you post the podcast
Tomorrow.
tomorrow? Cool. I can listen to my really monotone low voice.
No, you did fine, man. You did
No. Like if you were to hear me, I have a monotone low voice where everybody at work that honest my college is like, you have a really monotone voice, and I was like,
See, it
I
appears
know.
you figured out the 13-minute drop issue.